Caitlin, Daniel, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Monday.
How's
We're
everyone
here.
doing? We're
Um,
here. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
We
good.
made it. We
Yeah,
made it.
Everyone feeling good? Feeling like energetic for a nice easy chat?
yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I am. Yeah,
Okay, good.
I'll
Well,
I'll get into it a
I,
little bit later, but me and Caitlin have been LinkedIn buddies for a while now, so it's exciting to finally have her here.
Oh my
agreed.
God.
Agreed. This
So
has
excited.
been in the making for a while. Well, I'm still, that was me more than me asking you how you're feeling and how, if you're ready, it was more me pumping myself up because
You got this,
honestly,
Steven.
I'm still not in full throttle for the week, but these conversations are the best part of my day, my week. So I'm stoked and I'm ready to get started if you guys are. So let's kick off with our first tradition on the Modern People Leader. We call it Good News Stories. Caitlin, if you've listened to an episode, you should be pretty familiar. We all share a personal or work or both related story from the past week or two. It's just a nice way to show some positive energy, a little bit of gratitude as we start the conversation. So I'm gonna ask Caitlin if you can think of anything. I'm gonna ask you to go first, if that's okay with you.
Yes. And first of all, major fan of the podcast. So I know all about the good news stories.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, very excited to start with something positive on a Monday afternoon here. So I guess first of all, I am expecting. So super excited.
Wow.
Yeah, we're very pregnant over here. So I could be giving birth at any minute. If this goes sideways, right, I'll just no.
Just
But
give us a signal like gotta
yeah,
go.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, everything's going well there, and I'm definitely at the tail end. So super positive. But probably another good news story is a little bit bittersweet. So I had to rehome my dog Levi. And by rehome, that's not like putting him in a shelter, to be specific. I went and found a better home for him. It turns out that he's not a fan of children, especially toddlers. And so he was just getting super stressed, and he's a dog I've had for like 8 years, do everything with him kind of a thing. And so it was super hard to make the decision, but ultimately bringing a second crazy rascal into the picture was probably not going to be the best for him. He was super stressed out. So like super fortunate to have found a really great home for him that's like exactly matches his kind of personality. So yeah, that's kind of my bittersweet.
Yeah, I've had Duncan, my dog, for 10 years almost, and I think I met my wife maybe 1 year into getting Duncan. So she's known him basically his entire life too. And that's something that I try not to think too much about, but I can only imagine how that would feel. So I'm happy that your little guy found a good home, but also yeah, that's tough.
And,
Yeah,
and
totally.
and Caitlin, do you know what the sex of the child? Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl? Can I ask that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Another boy. Another boy.
Well, oh,
Yeah.
I only have girls. I have two girls, and I've always said, man, if I were to have in a future life with my partner, we've considered we want to have kids, and I'm totally down to do it again. But if we had a boy, it was like I just don't know that. I don't know. I don't know what would be in store. So at
It's
least,
different. It's different than a girl, just based off of with my friends.
that's what
Totally.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Daniel, you want to go next?
Yeah, yeah. So this will be super confusing for the listeners when they're listening to this, because I think when this airs, it'll probably be a month from now, and we'll be on episode 106. But my good news is that we're approaching episode 100. And for that 100th episode, Stephen and I did a special episode where we interviewed each other. And it was a lot of fun. I love, interviews with people like you, Caitlin, but sometimes it's fun just having a cousin chat with Steven and just appreciating the fact that we even have this podcast to do. So it felt really good for us to do that on Friday. And just the fact that I'm very proud of the fact that we were able to make it to episode 100. So that's my good news.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, 100 episodes. I still can't wrap my head around it, but here we are. And I'm like I said in our conversation, I'm looking forward to the next 100. So we got a lot more to come. And so with that, I'll share my good news. So I had a nice weekend full of soccer games, but the good news really is that it was beautiful weather in Austin, Texas. So we've got like this really small slither that's actual spring. We have like all these fake springs because it's Texas and it's really hot here and the weather is super confusing. But we actually had like spring-like weather, and we'll probably have that for another few weeks before it just jumps to like the 90s and is just unbearable at these soccer games. Both my daughters play soccer. So yeah, it was a nice weekend, lots of soccer, and there weren't any tears. So that's a win. So Caitlin, it looks like you started your career on the legal side and you pivoted pretty quickly to HR. And so after I always go and, LinkedIn stalk our guests just to try to get a sense for the experience and the history. And so I'm super curious. When I saw that, I was like, oh, there's some legal experience here. And then it goes straight to HR. So super excited to hear your story. Walk us through your journey and how that led to you becoming the head of people growth at Envoy.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And who knows what's next, guys? I don't know. I may take on another career. Who knows? But yeah, actually what led me to law was I was in kind of environmental science in college and did a lot of research, like ecology research and stuff like that, just so I could be outside. Did a bunch of like travel abroad to exotic islands and researched. And I felt like that, like research itself was pretty isolating, like whether it's in a lab or out in the field, like you aren't around a lot of humans. And so I ultimately decided to go to law school. It was always something that was kind of in the back of my mind, kind of been a lifelong nerd. So I was like captain of the debate team and all that. And so I was like, okay, law school, that feels like an appropriate adult decision. And so and I knew that going into law school, I could also fight the good fight in terms of like being an environmental lawyer, protecting the environment and stuff like that. And I have a huge passion for that. And so went to law school and ultimately graduating with tons of like student debt, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to these days. And that kind of led me to pursue a career in big law. So I joined Wilson Sonsini, which is just an excellent law firm as far as big law goes. And I did pursue kind of like an environmental kind of bent there. I started out in tax equity finance, so helping basically banks invest in utility scale wind and solar. And then I kind of transitioned into general corporate while I was there and worked with a lot of early stage tech founders and really enjoyed that. Loved working with founders, kind of like just people in tech. And I hadn't experienced this, right? Like being in law, it's very kind of traditional and kind of like old way of thinking and is very slow and takes a long time to change. So working with tech founders, I sort of saw this whole new side of like innovation and fast paced sort of like approach to work and just creative ways of thinking that I thought was super cool. And so at the same time, I was sort of struggling with the fact that big law wasn't really for me. It was just like super unsustainable work hours, like canceling Saturday night plans so you could stay up all night to work on memos. I mean, and that was repetitive. And I don't think, like, I knew, like, people say you sell your soul, you go into big law. And I got that, but I was like, no, but I'm not doing that, right? I'm still like helping the environment. I'm not actually selling my soul. But it turns out that you can still work for a good cause and kind of sell your soul. And I ultimately was like, okay, I kind of don't see this as a sustainable future. And for my own mental health, I was like, I kind of want to find something else. And I liked legal work. I didn't want to completely ditch it. I wanted to kind of find something new and fresh. And I had a buddy who worked in recruiting at Connery Consulting, which is also the firm that founded OpenComp. And so I moved over to consult to be an HR consultant. And I was also in-house corporate counsel there. And so did some in-house work in terms of like legal, and then just worked with different VCs and companies, tech companies, working on a whole variety of HR matters. And then eventually I kind of wanted to go in-house. Like consulting was sort of like having a ton of clients, and I felt like I couldn't like go deep or as deep as I wanted to. And I also wanted to get some exposure to like non-exempt populations, because that seemed to be this like quagmire for tech. It was sort of like they definitely understood how to structure programs for the exempt population, but knowing how to fold in non-exempt workers was something that I saw was sort of a big question mark for a lot of companies that I worked with. So I moved to All About Parking, which is a corporate services contractor, works with a lot of big tech, cut my teeth on some non-exempt work there. And then the pandemic hit. And I was remote for almost 2 years, but I really wanted to be back in person. I know I'm probably like the only person to say that on this podcast, but I really did miss being in person. And I also wanted to move back into tech and just be a little bit more creative in my work. And that led me to Envoy and this role, which is super awesome. And I handle kind of everything in a lot of ways, but primarily anything related to development, engagement, culture, and business partnership. And get to have like cool conversations like this because it's like a work tech company. So yeah, that brings us
Love
to
it.
now.
Love it. And I get we should have confirmed this up front, but am I saying that your company name correctly? Is it Envoy?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what
I
you
thought,
say.
okay. Perfect. I didn't want my Texan to come out too hard.
No, you're
So
good.
I'm familiar with Envoy, and I think going back to kind of what I believe is the original product, because I remember in like 2014, 2015, if you showed up for a meeting, and back then I was like early stage, really early stage startup CEO. So I was mainly selling at that point. And we were meeting with a lot of companies in person. Wow, it feels like way back in the day now. And I remember like having to check in, and I believe there would be like an iPad, and I believe that was the original Envoy service. Come to find out, you guys do a lot more than that. I had no idea. And so for our audience members that aren't familiar with Envoy, what's your at a party response when you give people when they ask like what you do and what your company does?
Yeah, the at the party response is that the product makes workplaces work better. And so definitely, yeah, we started out as like sign the NDA on the iPad before you meet with
I
people.
remember that.
Totally. Yeah. And that was my first interaction with the product as well, like forever ago. But yeah, I mean, we've branched out into so much more. Did a huge pivot in the pandemic, but also we basically are kind of like a platform solution at this point. And so we have Envoy Mobile. You can see like who's coming into the office. It really creates this sort of like intentional experience. When you are coming in, you know who's there, where they're sitting. You can kind of like figure out meeting places and locations on maps, which sort of helps folks like navigate the location easily. It's really great also for visitor management, just bringing folks in that haven't been there before and just sort of like, I mean, like for me, from just a very personal standpoint, it's like, it just makes it easier coming into the office. It's just a lot. It somehow just like removes the barriers to kind of getting in and just situated, which seems to be just like getting more and more complicated as we move
It,
into the future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely feels more complicated than it should be, but maybe that's the problem. We need Envoy to make things easier. And so
Yeah.
apart from getting to work at a company with an amazing product that has a really cool kind of mission vision, why should we be jealous that you get to work at Envoy?
Um, you should be jealous that I get to work at Envoy, because when I go into the office, other people are there. I think that's something that a lot of companies are struggling with right now, is just even if they have like hybrid or return to office mandates, like people just aren't really there. And what's kind of cool about Envoy is we all are behind our vision and know that know that that's important and value the time that we do have together. I think Envoy's done a great job of creating an intentional experience for everybody when we are together. And so it's really cool that 3 days out of the week, like I get to see my team, I get to see other teams, have lunch with them and work together on cool problems.
Yeah. There's nothing like actually going in and meeting up with the people that you're talking to every day. So going back to my good news, how I got to do the in-person podcast with Steven on Friday. It's not often that we do these in-person podcasts, but the one thing that we do every week is we have a weekly, we call it our L10 meeting, where we just go through all of the metrics, all of the everything related to our business we cover in that 1 hour. And we do it in person. We have a designated space that we show up and meet each other at. And I always look forward to the Fridays when we do that. We try to do it every week, but yeah, it's great.
I think like even like just to, I mean, it's not like, going in, right? Because back in the day, like we were still doing 5 days in the office, right? Going into the office. I'd say like what's kind of unique about this is more just like having that intentionality behind when you are gathering together. And like we also have like Mondays and Fridays remote, which is like kind of a nice balance. But yeah, definitely having that time to like intentionally be together is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to give a quick, I guess, timeline of when the idea for you coming onto the podcast even came about, up until today. So I was going back and looking at the LinkedIn messages, and you reached out early March 2022, and you just reached out. You had some nice things to say. You were like enjoying the podcast. You even joked about maybe one day being a guest on the show. I think at the time you were transitioning into your new, yeah. And then later that month, you asked us if we were going to be at Transform, which we weren't last year. And then a couple of months later, you recommended that we get Q Hamarani onto the show from Airbnb to talk about work from anywhere. Then in December of 2022, that's when I reached back out because I think you had wanted a few months to sort of just settle into the new role. And that's when I asked you to come on to the show. So it was cool to see all of that. I didn't even remember that you had recommended Q to come on. So here we are today. This year, we're going to be at Transform. We're a partner of theirs. We're set to talk to Q actually in a couple of weeks. We haven't booked on the calendar. And you're finally here on the show with us. So it was pretty cool kind of looking at that timeline and the fact that you're here with us today.
I love it. Full circle moment for me. I totally forgot that I had recommended Q too.
I'm excited for him. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember like listening to your podcast when I was on maternity leave with my first child was super helpful, just kind of like getting me back into the groove of work, but like in a casual way. So it's kind of crazy that now I'm heading out and I'm actually talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know this isn't the point of the podcast, but I just have to ask, like, what is it about the modern people leader? Like what parts of it do you enjoy the most? Like where should me and Steven be leaning in more?
Okay. So what I love about the podcast is I always feel like even if I don't necessarily agree with like the speakers that y'all have on, I love that I always walk away with something that's like practical. And I do think there are other work kind of like work podcasts, but it's hard to walk away with something that's like actually tangible that you can like apply in your day-to-day, and not even like a tactical tangible thing, like even like at the strategic level as well. So I love that there's always something that I can like walk away with that's like actually something I could put into practice pretty immediately, or at least start planning out. And what did you say on a recent podcast that you guys like wanted to start incorporating like, oh gosh,
The shout outs maybe?
No, it wasn't the shout outs. It was something that was like, it was a little spicy. What was it? It was like,
oh, I know what you're talking about. I think it's when we had Christine's song on the show, and
yeah,
it was gonna like real talk, like a real talk segment or something.
Yeah, something along those lines. And I was like, that sounds really cool. So I like that idea. I upvote it.
Well, I appreciate the feedback, but yeah, That's the second time we've heard a comment around having like a practical takeaway. I think the way somebody else put it, they said that every time they listen, there's moments on the show where they'll go, huh, like I hadn't thought about it that way. Just like giving them like little moments for them to maybe rethink what they're doing, maybe not completely change it, but it'll inspire how they can have their own take on whatever we're talking about or sort of remix it.
I
But
I love I love hearing this feedback because, and Daniel and I, talked a lot about this on Friday, but it feels like we are as a community, we've made a lot of progress, but my personal feeling is that there some fractures have come along with some of the progress, and it still feels like on a lot of the challenging issues and topics that we have, that there still is a really polarized way of engaging in conversation, at least in my LinkedIn feed. I don't know about yours. And so to hear that that we're able to have conversations that our audience doesn't necessarily agree with, but is still having a moment of, oh, okay, like I see how I could look at this a little differently, or like maybe I need to spend some time. Why am I having this reaction? Maybe I should spend some time thinking about this a little bit. Like that, that's really cool. And so that just right there made my day.
Oh, glad to make your day. But yeah, that's the truth. It totally is. And yeah, and even if I do agree with something, or even if something isn't like a novel concept necessarily, somehow the way that it's framed just sort of makes me think about it in a different light as well. So yeah, very thought-provoking and helpful.
I love it. All right,
Yeah.
so back to business. So you've been at Envoy for a little over a year now, and I'm just curious. You've been there for, is it 13 months? Is that right? Around that?
Is it?
I think so. I think that's what I
Yeah,
gathered from my LinkedIn stalking. But
probably.
but what's keeping you up at night? Like, is there anything that has been on your mind recently related to either the world of work or more specifically to your people team, the people growth team?
Yeah. I I guess what's been keeping me up at night, like aside from my toddler and extremely pregnant self, is I think like so and of course like broader economic doom and gloom and everything like that. I think this idea that HR exists to make everybody happy as a concept. So like I think like the Wall Street Journal just came out with an article that was like, of course we have like the most multi-generational workforce ever and offer more benefits to appeal to everybody. And I think like as a principle, I think that sounds great. Like, of course, make everybody happy. That sounds like the ideal. But I just don't think that that's realistic. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on like people teams for something that's really impossible. And I think like, you know, in thinking about like employee value propositions, right? Like your EVP isn't like, how do we appeal to everybody, right? It's like, what makes us unique? Why are we like, what's unique about our value proposition, right? And so in Envoy's case, I think something that's unique, at least right now especially, is that we bring people together regularly for like intentional community and collaboration. And that's not going to work for everybody, but it'll work for the people that are right for our company, right? So I think just sort of like this idea that people teams are supposed to make everybody happy, but that's kind of like not possible. But at the same time, we strive to be extremely inclusive, right? So there's sort of like this other element of how can we be as inclusive as possible, understanding that we're not going to make everybody happy, that that's not like a realistic expectation, and just kind of trying to dig into more ways that we can increase inclusion. And so like surveys, I think surveys, like one-on-ones, town halls, all of those communication touch points are ways that we're trying to figure out like how to be more inclusive of different folks. And I think just also kind of staring at like this upcoming maternity leave and just being a new parent at the same time. I think I see like a lot of parallels between parenting and kind of like the workforce, and especially how like different generations view each of those things, right? I think Gen Z has a very different approach or thought process when it comes to the world of work and kind of living through a pandemic and living through incredible student debt and inflation and all of those things and globalization and stuff like that than, for example, like baby boomers do. And I think that's like totally similar, like in the parenting world where like, you know, my parents are baby boomers and they did not have a nap schedule for me, didn't have high tech like video surveillance of me sleeping and my breathing patterns.
You sound like my parents. They always talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah, like my parents look at me like I'm insane because I've dialed in the science of my child and like how to make them happy, which ultimately makes my life easier. But it's just funny because like at the end of the day, my parents are never going to understand why I do these things that I do. But so I guess that's just to say it's sort of like an allegory for like, you know, generations may not understand each other and we have a lot of them in the workplace. And how do we include everybody, understanding that we won't make everyone happy and not everyone is going to understand certain decisions like at a fundamental level.
That reminds me of the conversation that we had with Dina Upton, and I think that one was almost 2 years ago. And she talked about the idea of picking an edge. How, and this is just basic marketing 101, like the biggest mistake that marketers make is they try to appeal to anybody and everybody versus trying to speak to like the one person, like that one perfect person that they want to sell to. And then there just so happens to be a lot of people that are exactly like them. And yeah, I think you have to pick an edge because you'd rather, I can't remember who said this, but they said you'd rather have someone have an emotional response to something you do, whether that's like a very strong positive emotional response or like a slightly negative emotional response, than have them feel like bleh about whatever it is that you're saying, because it's easier to move somebody from a negative emotional response to a positive than it is to move somebody from a bleh emotional response to a positive. How have y'all been thinking about really crystallizing your EVP? Is this something that y'all are talking about pretty frequently? And how would you describe the EVP of Envoy?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. First of all, I think the way that we have characterized our EVP is really around community and collaboration and bringing like that intentionality to being together in person, being creative, being collaborative, which I think is excellent timing for this particular EVP with Chat GPT and all of that. Like, you know, the robots are taking over and sort of what is that thing that's going to combat that, which is probably like creativity, being together, and those kind of like spontaneous moments where you're able to kind of mind meld with folks. So, I mean, I think that's, sorry, I just went on a tangent, but I think that's like kind of our EVP here at Envoy. And I think right now we're in a little bit of a different environment in how we're thinking about it because like a lot of tech companies, we're not in a phase of like hyper growth at the moment. And so it's like our EVP is almost to our current employees, not just like perspective. And it's like, how do you keep people engaged in your vision and in what you're uniquely offering, especially in this economy and in this environment where it's a little bleak, and yet people do have a lot of choices. Like people still have a ton of choices right now, but I think for us that's kind of how we're thinking about the EVP is like, how do we keep everybody still really engaged and excited about what we're doing, even if we're not like grow and moving at that level. And I think another piece of our EVP is like we're bringing fun back. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we just bring a little levity to the workplace and make it a place where people really enjoy coming and hanging out with each other? So yeah, that's kind of the
Any examples of how y'all are bringing the levity and fun back to the workplace?
I mean, we do have quite a bit of like events. Like tomorrow night we are having Catan night, which
Ooh,
yes,
I
yeah,
love a board
um,
game.
yeah,
So
I know, right? It's great, especially with this. We have like basically another hellstorm that's happening right now. So, but yeah, so I mean, we do stuff like that, which is kind of like it's just fun to get to know each other and just people you wouldn't like necessarily work with. But I even think like in my work, right, just in thinking through development, one of the things that I am trying, and this is a little bit of an experiment too, and I'm in the early phases of it, is trying to figure out how we can create learning experiences where we're together, because that's like a genuine business goal and is in line with our vision, but also leverage like creative practices like extemporaneous speaking or like improv, stuff like that, just to kind of again develop like creativity in folks. It's also just fun and different, but also genuinely related to skills that folks are going to need, like I said, to beat the robots, to beat chat GPT and stuff like that. So yeah, just bringing a little levity to the situation.
I love all of those examples. And one thing you just said is like, I can't get it out of my mind. And that was, how do you keep your people engaged in your vision and in what you're uniquely offering when like the times have changed? Like the market has undergone a significant shift, like as significant as the that great resignation or great reshuffle period was. I feel like this period we're going through is as big. It's like a Newton law of physics happening here. If some people law of physics or whatever, but in the difference is like at least there was a clear vision 2 years ago, and that was grow, grow, grow. Like no matter what, we got to grow to compete and capitalize on whatever this opportunity is. And now we don't. I feel like what's even harder about the current situation we're in is there's just uncertainty. Like I don't think any of us, at least we talk to people leaders, HR executives every week, and so far we haven't heard from anyone like, okay, with certainty, like, oh, this is, things are going to stabilize in X amount of time and in Y year. We're going to be, this is what we're preparing for. And so I think we're all operating with a lot of uncertainty. And so like, where do you even begin to figure out, okay, like what are we engaging people in? What is that metric? Like what is the metric that matters the most? And earlier you mentioned surveys. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing on the survey side, because I've got to imagine that somehow factors into like the future.
Yeah, totally. And I think our approach to surveys is like, it's really important to understand what everybody that is here wants and is expecting from the workplace. And at the same time, we don't want to burn people out on surveys. And at the same time, we want to like set a reasonable cadence so that we can actually take actions on those insights that we derive from surveys. So it's sort of like this delicate balance of like timing and number of questions and what to ask about. But we recently ran a company-wide engagement survey, and we asked about a bunch of different kind of overarching themes in terms of like organization, culture, people development, DEIB, and then like kind of more light topics. What's some fun stuff you'd like to do? Like, how would you like to experience your development here? Things like that. And then following up with like a monthly eNPS pulse is kind of how we're going to see where we're tracking on those action items that we take based on the survey. And that's sort of how I think like at first we were like, oh, we'll just do like a bunch of like pulses and we'll just get to like the heart of what everybody's thinking every month. And it sort of was like taking a step back. It's like, well, will we have enough time to take meaningful action on those things? And are we getting like a big enough picture but at the same time, you do want to keep a pulse because things change so rapidly, right? So that's kind of the approach we took to surveys, or that we're taking to surveys right now. And so coming out of that engagement survey, like huge themes being like culture, diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, as well as development and career growth. And so, I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, so I'd say like for me, like the two biggest, kind of like action plans that I'm trying to come up with right now have to do with DEIB and learning and development.
And on the DEIB side, what are some of the I guess like pillars of the program that you guys need to take a look at, or what are the opportunities do you think that may still exist out there based on the feedback you're getting?
Yeah. I think we are focused on the inclusion piece. I think that is like one of the biggest areas where you kind of have to pick a lane and kind of come up with some tangible actions. And so inclusion is the biggest one. And so we actually have an OKR that is ERG participation. And the executives are owning that OKR, which is pretty cool because it kind of demonstrates how important and seriously we're taking inclusion right now. And I think like it's one of those things where I've heard other folks kind of say DEIB is sort of falling to the side because the times, and it's just sort of taking a backseat. But for us, it's definitely continuing to be front and center. And since I'm a fan of the show, I do have a hot take on this one, which is like I know that folks have talked about incorporating ERG leads into like product feedback or market research and stuff like that. And I absolutely like applaud businesses for wanting to be more inclusive in the way that they approach their business. But I think my opinion on that is if you're going to do that you have to be really mindful and like not taking credit for ideas that aren't yours, right? B, probably compensating for that work, because ultimately like asking, it's a burden, right, on an already burdened population that's faced challenges in the workplace. And then I think like, you have to be careful that you're not like tokenizing certain populations and making sure that the ERG, it's like an employee resource group, not an employer resource group.
It's true.
So.
I always think when on this specific topic or issue of Mita Malik, and I remember us talking about how she was, if not the lone, female executive, one of the few women of color in a kind of executive kind of role, and that she was always asked to do the interviews and do the marketing type of initiatives. And it was just an assume, so it became almost more of a burden than it should have been. But they're also being billed as like opportunities. And so there are a lot of nuances there. And I can see why there could be some hesitation for sure, especially if are you guys fairly, or how old are your employee resource groups?
They're probably like 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
And we've had a few like, ERG 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, some refreshes in there. And yeah, I mean, I'm like, again, like huge, like, again, I think like the ultimate purpose is inclusion. And I think if you can do that mindfully, like that's kind of where one like should focus. So definitely like I think it's awesome to be incorporating them into product feedback and things like that. I think, like having maybe a compensation structure around that, especially. And I think like, so like for our OKRs, like the participation OKR isn't owned by the ERGs, right? Like we're making execs own that. So I think just, yeah, I guess like it's like one of those things where I definitely think it's really a really cool way to like leverage ERGs, but I also think like balancing that with like what the original purpose is of an ERG is important.
Yeah, I think it was Yemi Akisanya that we had on, and he talked about the importance of the executive team owning the OKRs related to DEI or DEIB. So I think that y'all are definitely onto something there. So the metric that y'all are tracking is just participation.
Yeah, on that
Okay.
one,
And
participation.
and
Yeah.
how do you, is it like participation like out of the entire company, or how do you track that? Like how is that calculated?
Yeah. So it is complicated when you have like a hybrid workforce,
Yeah.
but participation is like participation of the members of the ERG. It also depends on like where this particular whether it's like an event and whether it's like in person or hybrid. So it sort of like depends on that as well. But basically like how much of the ERG is participating. And then if it's because we have closed events, which are for ERG members only. And then we also have open events, which are for the company. And it just, depending on the depending on whether it's closed or open, it'll leverage company budget a little bit differently. And so if it's an open event, then we're looking at like company participation. If it's hybrid, we'd look at both remote and in office. And if it's in person, we would look at the people that were in person that day, which we can use our product for conveniently. Yeah. So it's not
Yeah.
not a straightforward one. It's like it kind of depends.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think we might have time for one more question before we hit rapid fire. So in our prep for this call, I was reading through some of the notes, and I think in there you put something to the effect of you felt like the work that y'all are doing at Envoy on the hybrid front and just creating like a hybrid workforce, you're really proud of and impressed by what the team is doing. So can you tell us a little bit more about what I guess what hybrid means for Envoy and what that looks like for an employee on any given week?
Yeah, I think for us, and we've had several iterations of like defining what that means for us. And the current iteration is it means being in an Envoy off, like for people that are designated hybrid, which is most of our population, it's being in an Envoy office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of the week, and then taking Monday and Friday remote. So I think the reason why I'm like, I guess I'm proud just of that general approach because I think it resonates the most with me. And again, like it's going to depend, like this is kind of the analogy I use with like different ways of working. Like, there are those people who can like sleep like 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
And it might be because like that's what they have to do, like that's their life. Or it might be that they just happen to do, they just can do that. I'm not one of those people. But like the recommendation is 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Like that's what you do to be, that's like healthy and the most sustainable way of kind of running your sleep life. And so I kind of feel like it's similar being together. Like I think that there's some amount of like being together that is just healthy and more fruitful, like whether it's for an individual's mental health or development. And I think that's why like we see like primary, secondary education, right? All of that is in person. It has not gone remote. And if we thought that like everyone was going to be remote working, then I think we'd need to like restructure that so that people could like learn how to operate in those environments. And I truly believe that there's just more development that happens when you're in person. And so whether or not hybrid works for everybody, I genuinely believe that to be true, that you do develop more when you're together and it's better for mental health. And so I think that's why I'm proud of hybrid, because I think just the policy, the stance that we've taken, our vision, how our product works to kind of remove those barriers to coming back together, like we're helping further that vision of work. And it just aligns a lot with like how I think people
Yeah.
work and develop. Yeah.
My older brother, he was first forced to work remotely for a couple of years during the pandemic. And I guess maybe 7, 8 months ago, he started going back into the office at least a few times a week. And for him, his reason is he feels happier the weeks that he goes in. Like for his mental health, he can't be at home every single day. Like he has to get out of the house. He has to be interacting with people. And I think this just goes back to full circle to the beginning of the conversation. We were talking about the employee value proposition and how for some people, this is how they want to work. They want to see people as a part of their work experience. And I think Stephen likes to refer to this as the dual labor economy that's starting to form, and how fully remote might work for some people, fully in office might work for others. And then for other people, it might be hybrid. So it's like, how do you communicate that in the messages that your company is putting out to attract more people that also are bought into that? Because at least for those people, they can say with certainty, like, oh, this is a company that operates in a way that works for me. So would you say that, on the recruiting side of things, that is this something that comes up really early on in the conversation where they're like, oh, this like really resonated with me, and this is how I personally like to work?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's like that's like in the screening, right? I mean, like it's front and center of how we hire. It's like, this is our vision. Like our product. This is what our product depends on. This is our vision. This is what we believe. And so the folks that we're hiring are bought into that vision, and they understand, like, it resonates with them. And another thing that I'll say, just because we did talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think for some folks, like it doesn't, I think like a lot of the criticism of being in person is like there's certain demographic groups that prefer to be remote, or that's been kind of the results of some surveys, right? And I think that doesn't mean that we should be remote. I think we have a lot more work to do to be inclusive when we're in person, which is another reason why I think Envoy is taking a very strong stand on prioritizing inclusion and making that part of our goals, because there's just a lot of work to do, and it's important for our hybrid vision too. So yeah.
I respect the stance, and I love that you guys are being intentional about who you're recruiting, and you have a clear, it's like the ideal customer profile that Daniel was talking about, but it's like the ideal employee profile. Like for your organization at Envoy, you have clarity in who your ideal employee profile is, and that includes someone who appreciates and wants to work part-time in the office, maybe more than that. I'm sure you guys offer options, maybe not, but at least that is part of the selection process. And I had a hypothesis like long time when all this started kicking off, that we are seeing like a dual labor economy, and there are people that want to work in office, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I got called out on LinkedIn for acknowledging that. Like I joined like an all remote kind of chat, and that was probably my first mistake, was like I should have known my audience. But it's just, I don't see it being all one or the other. And we don't, I don't know. That's just my personal belief. As a CEO and an entrepreneur, like I know the types of companies that I know what my ideal employee profile is, and I know the types of businesses that how I will construct the business for me and for our employees in the future. But I don't think it's all one way or another way personally. And that kind of goes back to some of the fractures that I was talking about earlier. So I just love that you guys have the clarity, and you're not afraid to admit it. And it sounds like things are working out for you. So
Yeah, no, and it's funny because it's like we definitely have the clarity, but like by definition, hybrid is like we kind of like both.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's nice to like, if nothing else, we have certainty on our employee profile.
Yes. And I think that's really, especially getting through the current uncertainty and positioning yourself really to capitalize on, life post this uncertainty, or maybe, this just continues to be the way it is. But I think having that clarity and focus is going to be it will only serve to help you. And so I think that's really cool. And I'm going to try to squeeze in one question. Do we have time, Daniel? Can I squeeze in one quick? I promise I'll keep it quick.
Caitlin, can you hang on for a few more minutes, or if not, totally okay.
Squeeze it in.
All right.
All right. So earlier, as you were talking through the, I guess, similarities between parenting and being a people leader or just work, and the nuances, and I really, that's really relatable to me. And I often see how my parenting decisions or just parenting trends in parenting could have the unintended consequences in the future expectations my daughters have for like how the world works. And so I'm just curious. And I also believe that happiness is not the metric. I don't believe that like all employees being happy is is what we're looking for, because I feel like that's an impossible goal like that. And so I grew up in an era of like your goals and what you're trying to achieve needs to be smart, right? It needs to be achievable, measurable, all the words. I can't remember all the words that go into the acronym, but for me, I don't think happiness on its own is the right metric. So I'm just curious, going back to that part of the conversation, in your role, like what do you view, not specifically at Envoy, but I'm just curious in general, like what do you believe the metric is that the people metric is that we're ultimately trying to get to? Do you have a view on that?
Yeah, this yeah.
And sorry to bring in the real talk at the very end.
I like it because I don't know, maybe it's an interesting opinion. I don't know. It's like controversial, but it's also kind of like a standard. So like, I know people do not like the eNPS score. I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. And I don't know that maybe that's not the perfect metric, but I do think that if someone is willing to tell someone, hey, you should work here, I think that that is probably the best sign that that person is like content in that place. And of course, like notwithstanding referrals, bonuses, and things like that. But genuinely, when I think to myself, if I really am happy, like, and I'm a pretty just like upfront, like authentic, like person, like I'm not great at like a poker face kind of thing. So for me, if I'm going to tell someone, hey, you should really check out this role we have at Envoy, that's not just because like I work at Envoy, it's because I actually really like being here. So I think that, yeah, to your point, like happiness isn't the metric. I think it's like a level of being like content, and not like complacent content, but content in that knowing this is like, I look forward to going to work. Like I don't get the Sunday scaries. I like the people I work with. Like they make me laugh and they're cool to eat lunch with. Sometimes it's just like kind of that simple.
And they love playing board games.
Yes.
So, which is pretty awesome. No, I agree. I am a fan of eNPS. I get the statistical people science like issues with eNPS, but it's a number, right? And it is for me, I always label it what we're measuring is employee advocacy. Because if your employee is willing to recommend, company name as a place to work to the people closest to them, then that feels like a pretty good outcome that we're getting to. And it's not as fleeting as happiness or engagement, or, there's like, it's like clear. Okay, today, would I recommend, Workify as a place to work or not? And I love that you guys are measuring it on an ongoing basis. So I was just curious because we kind of meandered in a different direction after the surveying question. So I was just curious what the metric was for you. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, sorry, I like never answered that, did I? I went totally.
No, you did great.
Yeah, that's the answer to that from the beginning.
All right, so I'm going to try to get us through rapid fire questions as quickly as possible just to get everybody onto their next meeting. But all right, question 1. How do you define a modern people leader? What are the traits and characteristics?
Oh my God, there are so many things and I have to be quick. I also, for the record, like I think the one, like there are some people that answer this question with like one quality and I'm like, how quality? Like, no, there's so many things. So I totally agree with folks that have said things like self-awareness, right? A desire to improve, definitely like business savvy, being a clear communicator, like all of those things are like table stakes. I think if you're a modern people leader, you have to be a person first, right? You can't be consumed by work. Like you have to experience life. You have to be a real person. And I think another thing is like not being a people pleaser. Like don't shy away from having those like real conversations, right? The real tough conversations have to be had, and a modern people leader knows how to navigate those.
If you could go back in time and talk to a 22-year-old Caitlin, what career advice would you give yourself and why?
I would give myself the advice that anyone who makes their job look like effortless and easy has worked really, really hard and put in a ton of effort to make it look that effortless. And I think just like when I was coming into the workforce, I was like, I need to have all the answers. Like, I need to know everything and I need to be like amazing. And they're going to find me out that I don't know what I'm talking about because I only went to college. But like the truth is, like, it just takes a lot of effort and practice to get to that point. So understanding that about mastery.
That's really good advice. I used to be so jealous of the people that were, 10, 15 years ahead of me. And they just seemed like they had everything figured out. And in my mind, I was like, I don't have shit figured out. How is this person doing this all so effortlessly? But you're right. It's because they put in the hours and they became masters at what they do. All right. So last question for rapid fire questions. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give to members of the Envoy people growth team? And it could even be to the broader Envoy team, but any shout outs that you want to give?
I want to shout out three people: Cody, Angelique. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Cody, Angelique, and Gina. They are like the wind beneath my wings. And we just operate as like an incredible team. Like we could like literally go out and just have like a fun time, just like talking. Like we all just work really well together. So big fans of my team.
That's the best. That's the best. Well, we have been so blessed, Caitlin, to have amazing guests like yourselves, mainly through organic, recommendations, just word of mouth. And so the next question is the primary source of all of that. And so, as you think about the most cutting edge kind of people leaders out there, is there anyone that jumps in mind that, we absolutely should have on the modern people leader?
Yes. Two people. Andrew Bartlow is like incredible at talk about like walking away with real practical advice in terms of how to be a people leader. And he's worked for all kinds of companies. So he's excellent. And then someone who I will call the postmodern people leader. And you'll know why if you talk to him. Named Idemar Goldmeans. And he is like has got the most like creative, far out approaches to people practices. Super smart guy.
We love far out, so we'll definitely reach out to both. And that gets us to our final tradition on the show. One word or one phrase. We all respond with something that we're gonna leave this conversation with. Who wants to go first?
This is the hardest question of the whole podcast. It really is.
I'm gonna say pick an edge because you can't make everybody happy.
You said that with so much enthusiasm. I love it.
Oof. I am gonna go with parenthood because I'm excited for you, Caitlin. That's amazing news. I had no idea. So
yeah, and you have two. So like
part of me is
like man on man defense. Like
it gets interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. I will do like hybrid / people profile because I think that was a really cool way of reflecting back to me like how we've been using our EVP is dialing in that people profile.
Love it. Love it. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. It certainly was well worth the wait. Thank you for being not only a guest now, but also a listener, and for all the feedback and just overall great conversation, Caitlin. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is like the best thing that could have happened before like going out on my leave. Like I just feel like, yes, I did.
Love to hear
it. So thanks.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your day, guys.
Talk to you later.
Bye.